With aid to Israel and Ukraine hanging in the balance, House Republicans will make another attempt to elect a speaker this week. GOP members nominated Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan on Friday. That is after Majority Whip Steve Scalise dropped out of the race. It's not clear if Jordan has enough votes, though. Nikole Killion is on Capitol Hill with more on Jordan's efforts to clear a path to the speakership. Good morning, Nikole.
Hey, good morning to you, Anne Marie. Congressman Jim Jordan spent the weekend here in Washington in meetings and calls trying to shore up support. The Ohio Republican needs at least 217 votes to secure the gavel, but in a secret ballot Friday, he only garnered 152, which means he is dozens of votes short. Jordan is chairman of the Judiciary Committee and was endorsed by former President Trump. He was nominated after Majority Leader Steve Scalise withdrew from the race last week because he couldn't get enough votes. If Jordan can't, some lawmakers suggest extending the power of acting Speaker Patrick McHenry. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats have been having informal discussions with Republicans to create a bipartisan governing coalition as another potential option to elect a speaker. Jeffries believes those conversations should be formalized this week, but there's still no assurance, Anne Marie, that enough Republicans would get on board.
So then, what is Jordan's strategy? How is he going to win some of his fellow Republicans over?
Well, I think that's why he spent a lot of his time here in Washington this weekend. I mean, look, there are a lot of Republicans who weren't really pleased with the way things went down last week, where you had Steve Scalise, who got the nomination, and then he, some feel that he kind of got pushed aside so that Jordan could pursue his ambitions. So there may not be too much convincing Jordan can do to convince those particular holdouts. But I think his main message really has been that he wants to try to unite the conference as best he can, conservatives and moderates, and that he's the best guy positioned to do it.
And then, so a vote is set for tomorrow. If Jordan doesn't win the speakership, what happens next?
Well, then we're just back to square one, where we kind of keep going through this cycle, rinse and repeat, however you want to put it. But obviously, Republicans will have to try to come up with yet another candidate. And even last week, when I asked some Republicans, look, are you confident that he's the guy, or do you think you'll be back in this position all over again this week? Many Republicans told me they simply weren't sure. They're hopeful that Jordan can get the votes, but they also realize that it may not be possible and that they will have to go through yet another candidate. I mean, I mentioned some alternative options in terms of potentially extending Patrick McHenry's powers, but, there are some constitutional concerns with that on the part of Republicans. And then, of course, you have Jeffries proposing this bipartisan coalition, but hard to see how any Republicans all of a sudden want to jump ship and work with Democrats to try to elect a speaker. So it's a really tough bind there.
I mean, I know it seemed like such a long, a crazy thing to say when someone floated the idea of Donald Trump, but maybe looking outside of the House, not Donald Trump, but someone else, may be exactly what they need to do. What would be happening right now if Congress was healthy and in working order? What would these lawmakers, or what should they be doing instead of this?
Yeah, well, they are losing a lot of critical time here. As you know, government funding was temporarily extended for about 45 days. We're kind of already about 2 weeks into that. So, that really is one priority. Lawmakers had set the goal of trying to move through a series of appropriation bills so that they could fund the government on a more permanent basis. But because they haven't been able to touch them, that's really setting the clock back. And then, of course, you have this situation that continues to unfold in Israel and Gaza. And of course, there's potential for a new aid package that will be sent up here to the Hill, not only to assist Israel, but also Ukraine. Again, the House really can't touch that without having a speaker in place. And now some Republicans argue that it's not as urgent as everyone is making it out to be. But the reality is, the clock is ticking.
It is. Nikole, thank you very much.
You bet.